Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We've got another great conversation today. Perfect for this time of the year. So today I am joined by the lovely Jonathan Boulware. And I also didn't tell you, Jonathan, Irish accent. I may pronounce a few things wrong, like your name, but please forgive me for that. So, Jonathan is a lifestyle and behavior change specialist dedicated to helping individuals overcome obesity by guiding them through the often very overwhelming, as many of us know, first steps towards lasting health transformation. Keyword there being lasting. After losing his mother to obesity in 2014 and facing his own struggles, Jonathan committed his life to understanding the deep-rooted challenges behind lifestyle changes, and I would add what prevents many of us from actually either taking action or sticking with the action, Jonathan. He founded You Take Control of It and developed the 432 Playbook, a personalized step-by-step program that empowers people to take control of their health for good. He's a certified personal trainer, health coach, precision nutrition level 2 master coach, and he also holds behavioral change specialist credentials. So, Jonathan, we've got a lot to discuss today. And like I mentioned, perfect time of the year to start this conversation. First, would you mind sharing a little bit about your story? Because it's very relatable for a lot of people. And then there's the aspect of your mom passing, which I'm
Yes.
sorry for your loss. I often will get approached by women who's had a mom or a dad receive some sort of bad news or a bad diagnosis, and that's like their wake-up call. And they'll say, "This has really made me realize how seriously I have to take my health and I need to take action," and so on.
Well, first, thank you, Chamin, for having me on your podcast today. I really appreciate the opportunity and enjoying being here. Yeah, it started that way with me, my mother. My mother had battled obesity for most of her life, and I really didn't start battling until a little bit later in life. But in December of 2013, she had been diagnosed with congestive heart failure, and in 2013, she got a wound on her leg that just wouldn't heal. And so, in January of 2014, we put her in a rehabilitation center. And that point in time, I always thought that she would get better. And so I was writing her these motivational notes saying, "Mom, once you get out of this, we'll focus on this. We'll do this together." Because at that time, I was almost 300 pounds myself, and and um, and I was just looking for ways and how to motivate her. And during that time, I had my own scare that you just mentioned. I was in my office on the left side of my body. I just felt this tingling sensation that started at the left side of on my foot all the way up to my face. I ran to the bathroom with the water on my face, and I was fine physically. I got checked out later by doctors, but emotionally, I was a wreck because
Mm.
I was mad at myself. I was blaming myself for because it had to be because I was 300 pounds. Well, fast forward, I really was with just trying to motivate my mom to change her lifestyle once she got out of the rehab center. Well, in April, she realized that she wasn't going to make it. It was our last good conversation, and she had made me promise that my body is winning this battle. I'm not going to make this with you, Jonathan. And that was our last good conversation. She passed a couple months later. And during that time, what really struck me was why is it for myself? Because I had a young daughter, my wife, and my mom. Why is it that even if it will save our lives, why can't we change our lifestyle behavior? Even if we know we may die from it or we may not live a healthy life, why still can't we change? And that's where my journey started.
Oops. We have so much to unpack. It's crazy how deep it goes to start a health journey, but stick on the journey. Like that's the biggest challenge. And I have my own story, which I didn't share with you. I was also close to 300 pounds. I was 280. I lost 165.
Wow.
It's like a lifetime ago. It was like many moons ago. And I get asked all the time, what are my secrets and everything. And my answer always is mindset. It's always mindset. No, it doesn't matter what exercise, nutrition you do. If your mind's not in it, you're going to fail regardless.
That is exactly true. And that's exactly what I learned because when I had that question, I was like, why is it? And what I realized was I didn't like myself. When I got up in the morning and I looked at myself in the mirror, I hated what I saw. And my day just spiraled out of control. So if I said, well, I'm going to eat healthy today, I'm going to work out. But after a couple of days, even when I looked in the mirror, I never could get past that morning. Just looking at myself saying, who is this person? How did you let yourself get there? You have a daughter that's counting on you. And I just hated myself. And so I couldn't get past that. And that's when you talk about mindset, I had to find a solution to that for me to be able to move forward.
Mm. So you didn't like yourself. You mentioned the word hate there, and I've used that before. I hated what I saw. But you also said you were disappointed in yourself. Loads of people are very disappointed because they feel they try, they fail, they try, they're not strong enough, they don't have the motivation, they just can't stick to it. Again, 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 disappointment. The more we become disappointed in ourselves, the more we dislike ourselves.
That's right.
And the more we distrust ourselves. There's a huge element of trusting yourself. Can you do this? Can you trust yourself to make the right
Yes.
decision day in and day out?
Trust and belief in yourself that you can do it. Yeah, trust that you can stick to it. Belief in yourself that this is actually, you can, like you said, day in, day out, that without that adversity in your mind saying, you can't do this. Why are you even trying? And so you're right about mindset because now looking back, your mindset will stop your lifestyle change, behavior change long before any nutritional plan or exercise starts to kick in. And so that's really where I started to focus on. I said, I have got to get out of this cycle of thinking this way. It's not helping me. It's not helping my family. It's not helping anybody. So how do I do this? And so that's really what changed my life.
How many times on your journey did your mind or negative mindset poke you each day and say, just one cookie, you don't need to go for the walk. Just like it pokes at you and you really sometimes have to be vicious and get away.
Well, or what I call is I say you have to have your countermeasures because what I learned is that we're humans, right? So we're always going to have something, a negative mindset or negative thought, something that comes in that causes doubt. That's just a part of the human experience. So what I learned is you have to have a countermeasure. So for every negative thought you have, you certainly can have a positive one. So let me give you an example. So when I looked in the mirror I didn't like what I saw. Well, maybe I would walk 10 minutes prior to that. And I said, instead of looking in my mirror and saying, hey, I don't like what I see, I would say, you know what? You walked 10 minutes today. Your body is getting healthier. Don't pay attention to what you see. You're doing the steps that are necessary. So for every negative doubt, I developed these countermeasures that says when this thought comes in, you're going to counter it with this thought. And so after a while, that became my new habit. And so that's what helped me. Because even now, today, when something pops in, I will have a countermeasure that doesn't allow me to spiral out of control.
Hmm. And you said developed there, which I hope people recognized because you're not just bloody born this way. You don't just wake up every morning, I've got strong mindset. I'm very strong-willed person. Obviously, I've kept the weight off for a long time, successful, I think, in my own right. And that mindset, I've had to work on that and grow that and develop that every day over the last 20 years and have like what I suppose if I was to term what you're saying is every time that negative self-talk comes in, you have a counteracting positive
That's right.
self-talk. Oh man, I didn't go for my walk today. Well, at least I did this instead, and trying to
That's right.
recognize the little wins. But one thing that helped me a lot to develop, and this, I suppose we put it all together, the mindset, the self-belief, motivation, which I sometimes think is way overrated. Um, is I used to listen to, I don't know if you know who Tom Bilyeu is. So he runs Impact Theory, which in the
Okay.
beginning, like 10 years ago, he primarily focused on motivational speakers. He would get in all the big names and they would discuss their challenges, what they overcome. Oh, I went to prison, I got out, turned my life around. David Goggins was one of his guests. And like, so there was a lot of that focus on motivation. And then he'd make individual clips and like like they were powerful. Like you have to be a beast no matter what. No one's going to show up for you. You got to show up for yourself. And I have a playlist, so I still will listen to them, even though he's transitioned more into like economics. But I would play them anytime I needed to pick me up. I would play them, and I would just like almost brainwash myself into I can do this. That I can do this.
Right.
Do you have any things like that that you did?
Yeah, I did. As a matter of fact, I realized that when I started studying habits and how you form habits, well, how you think about yourself is a habit of a way of thinking. And so I started saying, okay, well, if I start using positive affirmations and I get in the habit of that, because if you just do it one time, it typically doesn't work. Like, you just got to do it over and over and over again. And something magical just happened. I started having these positive thoughts. And after a while, I didn't need it as often because that just started to become who I became, how I thought. And
Mm,
so just doing it over and over and over again allowed me to really become this person. So whenever something negative came into my mind, I just started to look for, okay, what's my countermeasure? It just became a habit for me to say, I'm not going to let this thought dominate me. But that took it took a few iterations for that to happen. But I was determined to make that happen. So from that standpoint, that being able to do that really got me out of, that's when I really was able to change my life and just
mhm.
get away from this 300 pounds.
Yeah, and again, I'll use the term brainwash. You have to brainwash
You
yourself
do.
into believing you can do it and I need to do this. And why am I doing this? That's another thing like that you speak about a lot and I do, and I suppose everyone who's in the know does. You have to have a strong why. Like, why do you want to do this? But for a lot of people, okay, getting married, a vacation coming up, that can be enough to help them get the 10 or 20 pounds off. But then keeping it off is another thing. But what do you think around having like a really strong, powerful why?
Oh, your why is your absolute best friend. I mean, your absolute best friend in life. As a matter of fact, as far as establishing lifestyle behavior change, I have the first five steps, but your why is number three on the top of the list because it goes deeper than a goal. Your why is your almost your reason for living, for why you're doing this, it's your deep emotional connection as to why you want to make a change. And the reason why it becomes your best friend is when adversity hits, when something rises up that says, especially in the beginning, that you can't do this, that you've tried this many times and look at yourself and all these things, all this negative self-talk that says you can't do this. Your why is the thing that smashes it and says, this is the reason why this is important. This is the reason why I'm doing this. And I used to carry it with me. I used to print it on a piece of paper. And when I needed that boost, I would read it to myself. I would
Mm.
read my why and say, this is the reason why I'm going to stick on this journey. And then, so yeah, your why is critical. It is one of the most important things that you will ever establish on your lifestyle behavior change journey.
Yeah, that piece of paper is smart. That's like people who will put a picture of themselves on the mirror of where they looked and felt their
That's right.
worst, and they keep looking at that. And I'd forgotten about that because people don't really speak about that anymore. I feel like
Mhm.
that was more in the Beachbody days. People were doing all that.
Yeah, yeah, no, the picture is another format of the why, but I found it to, if you write it down, if you write down my why is because I want to be there for my daughter. I don't like living this way. All the deep emotional connections that you have to yourself as to why something's really, really wildly important to you. If you write it down and it's just something you remind yourself every day, it takes hold. It really does.
Mm. My why, just to share with the audience, is I've shared my story many times, but it was that feeling of hating myself, being
Yeah.
so unhappy. Like I express it that, and you can probably relate that unless you've
Yes.
been there where you've hit rock bottom, you cannot explain to people the pain you feel. You hurt so much, you're so sad, everything is so dark. I cried a lot, but I'm also a girl, so you probably didn't cry a lot. Um,
Well, I did cry a lot. I did. I be sadistic. I did. I'll be
but
the first
I
to raise my hand.
I couldn't wear the nice clothes the other girls could. I was bullied. I was slagged a lot. That's an Irish term. I hated everything. It's not just the words that I'm describing, it's that feeling that unless you
Yes.
felt it, and I had a newborn as well, and there was just no going back, and there still is no going back. That's my why. That's the, as I describe it, that's the fire that's in me now. And man, is it strong. Like people who know me know my fire is strong. That why has not dissipated at all. Like, because I remember that feeling.
Hmm.
I'll never go back to that. And obviously now I've brainwashed myself. I've seen success that I know I don't need to go back to that. Like there's no
Right.
reason for me. I'll keep going forward. But that brings me to the question though, like we have strong whys that are deep rooted in us. What about people who don't have a strong why? Because not everyone does hit rock bottom.
Yeah, I would say, people have asked me that question. If I don't have a strong why, I, 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 the way I advise them is if your goal is lifestyle behavior change, then you don't necessarily have to have a strong why initially. Start with, hey, what do you want to become? What are the goals that you want to achieve in life? Where do you want to be? What's your future vision of yourself? And start there to say, a year from now, 6 months from now, this is the life that I want to live. This is where I want to be. I'm here now, and this is where I want to be. And it may not be the strongest why where you have this deep emotional connection, but there's a why there. There's a vision of yourself that you want to achieve. And just start with that. Hey, I want to be um, uh, where I don't have as much stress in my life, or I want to be 5 pounds lighter, or when I look in the mirror, I don't want to think these thoughts. Whatever it is, just think about your future self. And it doesn't have to be 5 years from now, it could be 3 months from now. And then use that as a way to guide you. And then start from there, and then things will build from there. So that's usually where I will guide people because everyone has a vision of themselves. Everyone has a sense of purpose of this is who I want to be, or this is what I want to achieve in my life, uh, short term, long term, and just start with that and let that guide you.
And start taking the small steps because you're right.
Absolutely.
Most people, we do want certain things, but circling back to the start of what we said at the conversation, most people have, dare I say, failed, for lack of a better term, so many times that they feel so discouraged they don't think they can make a change this time.
That's right. And so, and I've had people ask me as well, what if I um, just totally doubt myself and I don't feel like this is going to happen? What do you advise me? And so, and I was there. So how I got out of that is I didn't wake up one morning and say, okay, I'm 100% confident I'm going to do it this time. That was totally unrealistic. So what I
Hmm.
did was just leave a crack open, just leave a door open that this is possible. Even if it's 10, 15%, just give yourself a little bit of hope, forgive yourself, and just allow yourself just to think about it for a second and start with that. Start with just a little bit. And then as you grow and as you experience and as you have the small wins and you hit the micro goals, that crack will get bigger and bigger and bigger. And eventually that will go away. But just start with something really small. Don't put
Hmm.
that pressure on yourself in the very beginning that you have to have it all 100% figured out. You have to have 100% confidence. You know what to do and you believe that you can do it because that's just not realistic. Start
Hmm.
with where you are and then small belief. Just crack that door open, find a way to do that, and then build from there.
Hmm. So last Friday, you may know, is known as Quitters Day, National Quitters Day, a lovely, lovely term. And I didn't even know we had a day for it, but whatever.
I
So
didn't either.
it's said that 90% of people quit their resolutions by the second Friday of January, which in itself is having a day to it kind of tells you that the world doesn't even believe in you that you have
That's
a day. But whenever, so that then is going to crush your self-belief. But that
Yeah, that's not a very
brings
good
me
title.
it brings me to what you said about being realistic. You know, if you were one of those people that by Friday had quit, that's not failure. That's a wake-up call. You had unrealistic expectations. Maybe you had an unrealistic approach. You didn't have a solid plan. That's a learning curve. You just need to set out a better plan. Maybe you thought you could do it by yourself. Maybe you actually need some support. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it should never label yourself a quitter. As long as if something you started, you had a plan, your plan didn't quite work out. As long as you, like you said, readjust, say, you know what, that plan was probably a bit too ambitious. Let me start off with something a little bit smaller. I'm going to reemerge and try this or try that. That's not quitting. That's just saying, okay, this didn't work. I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to cut back on this big transformational goal and I'm going to start with little small wins. Or I didn't have a good day today. It was a horrible week. I'm going to start again with something, rather than trying to get four meals, great meals in a day, I'm just going to do one great meal. That's not quitting. That's just readjusting and saying, you know what, I'm going to go to have a little bit different plan, a little bit more effective plan for me, and I'm going to start again. So I would hate to label, and I used to do that, hate to label yourself as a quitter because it creates a mindset and a thought process that's not a good one. And so if you start to realize that you're not quitting, you're just saying, look, this plan wasn't quite as effective. I'm going to start doing something different. Then I think people find that very effective.
Mhm. One of my favorite lines, which someone will find this helpful and maybe write it down, that I say a lot, and I have it on my wall in my wardrobe, and it's so simple. It's quitters never win and winners never quit.
That's
And
right.
it's so simple and it's right there. And I'm like, right, I'm never going to win if I quit. So I got to keep going. Even if I pull back on my effort or my attempt, I'm still going to show up every day having
That's
faith
right.
that I'll get there eventually. And that really is the attitude I think people need to have because sorry to cut you there, people are like, okay, it's January. By March, by summer, I need this. No, you
Yeah.
have to have faith. Just keep turning up every single day and have the faith that no matter how long it takes, you will get there.
That is 100%. That's such a wonderful point. And I would add to that is start where you are now, meaning that your starting point is really going to determine how successful you're going to be. So if you've never, like I used to say, okay, I'm going to get up at 5 in the morning. I'm going to eat four good meals a day. I'm going to start working out 6 days a week. Well, that has never been my habit for the last 4 years. What makes me think I'm going to wake up tomorrow and do that? So don't start there. Start with, okay, I'm going to walk 10 minutes. I've eaten bad all day. I'm going to shoot for just having breakfast as a start, as a good goal to start there, and then not try to overeat at night. That is a very different plan, but it doesn't motivate people because you don't think that that's going to lead to big change
It
because
does, yeah.
but it does. So but you start where you are, start with the realistic. And guess what? Your confidence starts to grow. You start to feel good about yourself. You start to think that you're capable, but just start with small little things that don't seem like they're a big deal, but they're a huge deal. And then by March, you'll realize how far you've come. And then you'll
Hmm.
want more and more and more. And so starting point is really, really, really important.
Yeah. That I have a theory around that because most people will say, well, my day starts out well. They start out
They do.
strong. I had a good breakfast, went for my walk, and then it went downhill. And I feel like the more people convince themselves of that is how their days go,
Mhm.
the more that is how their days go.
Absolutely.
Like that's the
Absolutely.
self-talk, but you almost condition it. Like it's okay, I'll start again tomorrow, but tonight it's my thing to fail or have a little treat. And we're again, the conversation, it's self-talk, it's mindset.
It is very much mindset. And God, there's so many things you're saying that I can relate to because I would do that, start off the day well, and then not almost, I talked myself into, okay, well, I'll start tomorrow. It's, I'm hungry. I don't have anything at the
It's been a
house. I'm
busy
going to stop. It's
day.
been a busy day. I'm stressed. And then that pattern just repeats itself and repeats itself and you almost forget you start off the day great. That doesn't even matter anymore. And so you just focus on that. So that's such a wonderful point.
Hmm. And that brings us to the perfect segue of what you talk about, superpowers. What
Yes.
are superpowers?
So superpowers is really everybody, and I believe everybody on this planet has something that they do phenomenally well. I mean, everybody has something, regardless, it's independent of how much money you have or your background or where you came from. Everyone has something that you do well. And Studies have shown if you focus on something that you do well and you achieve it, you start to feel capable. It's a confidence booster. So I write about focus on superpowers, even if it has nothing to do with health and wellness, because once you have used your superpower, and for me, like for example, one of my superpowers was I was able to compartmentalize stress. I mean, if I got really stressed about something, I was able to not let that stress just really wreak havoc in my life. So that was something that I was really good at. And not that I didn't get stressed or I didn't have stress in my life, but stress was not a reason as to why I would overeat. And so that was
Oh,
my
you lucky
superpower.
duck. Everybody hates you right now.
No, stress was not for me. The reason why I overate was because I didn't like myself. And now that may be a form of stress, but I looked at myself and I didn't have that belief, and it pierced every part of my life. And I was like, well, I've already blown the day, so I might as well just eat. It wasn't because I had stress in my life, and I wasn't a big stress eater. It was more of I was disappointed in who I was as a person. Um, so when I focused on what I did well, my superpower, this is John, this is what you do well, and I would give myself goals for that. It made me feel better about myself. It made me feel like, hey, I am capable. I am a good person. I do have skills. I am qualified. And what's amazing about this, I had a successful career, but when it came to weight and being overweight, that didn't matter. I mean, all I just saw was this person. I couldn't get past that. So when I focused on the things that I did well, it started to help me build my confidence, even if it had nothing to do with food or overeating, that type of thing. And so I really stress people, focus on what you do well. It'll make you feel good about yourself and use that as a basis to move forward. Again,
Mm.
mindset. It's all about mindset.
It is like if we just said one word in the whole podcast, it's just mindset. If you don't
It's
have
about mindset.
control over that, it's going to be very difficult. You said something there about the person you didn't like who you were, you knew you could be better. And I have all different walks of people come to me for help. Some people just need a little bit of tweaking and guidance. They're already doing pretty well, just maybe need to fix a few things for their gut or something like that. And then some people have a list of stuff wrong. They need the weight loss. They're on 10 different medications. There's a lot going on there. And for some of these people, and I relate it back to my story, I had to become a different person. I am not the same person as I was 20 years ago. And I say to them, look, in order for us to get these results that you want, you're going to have to become a different person. And that can be very uncomfortable to hear.
It is. Yeah, it is. It wasn't uncomfortable so much for me because I realized it wasn't that I knew I had to become a different person. I think what makes people uncomfortable is the steps they think they have to do that they can't do in order to become that person. And so they would love to be this person that's thin and confident and has all these things, but the sacrifice they think they have to get there is what really discourages them. I can't do that to become this person. And so really if we focus on, look, it's not these huge transformational steps you don't have to do. If you just take these small micro goals, small wins, small steps, they will lead up to huge changes in your life. And so I think everyone has this vision of this person they want to be. It's just, do you have the confidence that you can take the steps and have the plan to be able to become this person and the patience? Because we live in a world now where we want immediate results. But just take your time and have fun on this journey. I talk about how you can have fun on your journey as well, where you really enjoy it, and then it becomes not really a journey, but just a journey, but a fun journey.
Mm. I have zero patience. I always say that if I was sent to purgatory, which hopefully I don't, that purgatory for me would be a queue that never ends, just queuing.
Yeah.
That I would hate that so much. But I
But
feel
when you went from 300 pounds, you had to have patience. I mean, to get because you're not going to wake up the next morning, the next week, the next month, and get to where you are today. That shows a real strong level of patience.
I think I've more patience now than back then. I think back then it was more the self-belief. I
Yeah.
believed in myself a lot, and part of that was the brainwashing. Part of that is I didn't want to go back to how I felt. I
Yeah.
had too much to live for.
Yeah,
I was
absolutely.
so young, I could have had a better life, and I accepted the responsibility that I was the only one that could do it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Regardless of what group I was in or who was helping me, at the end of the day, I was the only one who could change.
That is a
So,
great, that is a great point. That is great. I tell people all the time, make your health should be the number one priority in your life. Should be absolute more important than your job, your family, your kid, everything, your health. Because if we all heard this, if you don't have your health, you're not gonna be able to be present for those things anyway. So as soon
mhm.
as you make your health the number one priority in your life, the mental belief again, the mental um, relief and pleasure and focus and confidence that just comes with that is just huge.
It's a game changer. So I had a client call early this morning and we were talking about this because another client said something really powerful a few weeks ago, which I knew. Like we know this, but it's not until people say it again that you're like, yeah, you're right. And we're talking about like the scale and how the scale is not the definitive marker of progress, but for some people it's important. And if it wasn't important, why do we hate it so much? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
But this client, the first client, not the one I was speaking to, the first one before Christmas, was like, when we started, I was trying not to obsess over the scale, but she said, I recognized that the loss is not just about the number on the scale, but that she's like, my confidence is incredible. I feel so much happier. I feel sexier with my husband. I have more patience with my kids. I'm a nicer person all around. It's like changed her life completely. So this, I suppose, is to people who only are looking for weight loss and maybe they've no health issues whatsoever. They just want the weight loss. It'll still completely change your life. And then the client this morning, we were discussing that she had a lot of gut issues and they're all gone now. But the little bit of weight she's lost, she's like, just when I put on my clothes, they just fit better. I feel more confident. I stand straighter. I smile when I look in the mirror. It totally changes your life. It's not just the health part. It's your happiness is highly influenced by, I'm going to say it, your physical appearance. It is.
Oh, there's no question. I mean, your physical appearance and all the things that your client just described to you, I think everyone that has experienced weight loss can relate to. You just feel better, you feel sexier, your clothes feel better, and just your mindset is in such a better place. There's no question. So weight has not only make you health, weight loss can make you healthier physically, but the mental health is off the charts. There's no question.
I said happiness there because like I'm a pretty happy person. They say money can't buy happiness. Well, I don't know. But but for sure, feeling good in your body, it does contribute a huge aspect to your happiness. You want to go for a hike, you feel like I can do this, I'm
Right,
capable. For a woman with her husband, you feel confident taking off your clothes. A lot of women do not.
right,
The lights out, are your eyes closed? The whole jam.
right.
Like it affects every level. If you're constantly feeling tight in your clothes or aches or
Yeah.
pains, it's just there's you cannot describe it until you achieve it. It is a complete game changer, and that in itself should be reason enough for people listening to this to say, "Yeah, I'm totally doing this."
It is. I mean, for me, I'm sure, I struggle to say this because I was so ashamed of when my daughter was so young that I carried this weight. But when the weight was finally gone, I felt like a good father. I mean, I felt
Oh.
like a good husband because I felt like I did it more for them than for myself. Even though I felt all the personal things that you described, I could look at my daughter and say, look, if something takes me out of your life, it's not going to be because of something that I could have prevented with my health. And so that was a huge change for me mentally to feel good about myself. And so that's another reason why that's the person I want to be, and I'll never go back to where I was. And just being able to say that, and for my wife, and as I get older, being functional, being able to, I'm going to do a duathlon in April in California, and I'm 59 years old. I'm going to be able to do that duathlon, and being able to do these healthy things as I get older, and being healthy as I get older is really important as well too.
So here's a tough question. We know in the statistics, and we don't even need statistics to tell us this, that women generally take action on their health long before a man will. We're more
Mhm.
preventative, and there is some of that is superficial, totally fine. But men generally are known to not take action until something serious happens. They get some
Right.
bad news or something like that. But here's the hard question. And I like to ask the hard questions because I think they need to be asked. 'Cause I hear this a lot from women. They will call their husband selfish for not taking care of his health. Like, he's very selfish. He's putting himself at risk that something could happen and he's leaving me and the kids high and dry, or I'm going to have to take care of him if something happens. And it's a hard question, but it needs to be talked about.
It is a hard question. I felt that way. I mean, my wife didn't even have to say it to me. I mean, I felt because at the time when I was carrying that weight, and it was for many years. My wife's a school teacher. There was a time when she was able to take time off when my daughter was really young and stay at home with her while I worked. And I can't tell me how many times I would drive to work thinking, not if I got in a car accident, but what if I have a stroke? What if I have a heart attack? I mean, I haven't provided enough for my family. My wife, even though she could get a job as a school teacher, right now they're dependent upon me. And so I didn't take it as seriously as I should have. And I think partly because society judges men pretty differently than women when it comes to physical appearance. I think we're tougher on women than we are on men. I still believe that. So I think part of that was part of my mindset. Well, you know, um, well, I don't really necessarily need to focus on it as much because not because I was a man, but I just didn't have that same pressure that my wife and my daughter feel.
Mhm.
And so, but the pressure for me was, am I going to be around? Is the doctor going to say, you have diabetes and now it's affected your kidneys and now it's affected your eyesight and there's nothing you can do? And Shemaine, for me, the biggest disappointment was, why wasn't that enough? Why wasn't that enough for me to say, okay, let me get my act together and let me start and let me finish? And it just wasn't. And so eventually, it was. Eventually, when I put everything together, when I started learning everything about habits and the way I thought, then I could fix my mind. But I was already there where you're talking about, where you're saying I was being selfish. That's the way I looked at myself. And that's another reason that held me back because I let those emotions just hold me down. And nobody else's fault. It was my fault for letting that hold me down. And so it's a hard question. It's a hard point, but it's very truthful.
What about flipping it? What about when we look at the other side of the coin and people say, well, I feel it's very selfish to sign up to this program when we're a bit low on money, or I shouldn't be taking care of myself. My kids need me. What about that?
You mean are you saying where people put
Where
their health
people
second?
feel that if they start to take care of themselves or prioritize their health, then they feel selfish for doing that.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So I tell people all the time, I say, look, the one thing that you cannot trade in that you can sometimes you can't fix, that's with you every part of your day, makes you feel horrible, makes you feel good. It's with you 100% of the time. If it goes, you go. There's nothing selfish about focusing on that. Because if
Mhm.
I told you, if you take this away, you're going to die, or your life, whatever this is, and your life is going to be completely different, you would, and you're not going to have your family, you're not going to see your kids, you're not going to see any of these things. Whatever this is, you would fight with everything in your soul to make sure that thing never went away because you want to be there for your kids, you want to be there for your job. That thing is your body. That thing is your health. And so if you think of it that way, then you're not being selfish. If anything, you're being selfish by not focusing on it because eventually it's going to catch up to you. Eventually, in
Mhm.
some way, shape, or form, whether physically or mentally. So the thing that if it's ever taken away from you where your life would end, if you're going to fight like hell to keep that, that's your body.
Mhm.
That's your body, that's your health, that's your mental health, that's everything. So that should be the number one thing. And it's not selfish.
hmm And I'd almost sometimes I have done this with clients. I'll say, I'm going to put you on a guilt trip too. Like, you think of if you don't do this, how are you hurting your family? Like,
That's
can
right.
you imagine the pain they will feel if you were gone? Not
Yes.
just the leaving them to deal with the bills and the finances, but how much they will miss you. Their hearts will ache, all for something you could have taken action on.
Absolutely. Could have taken action on. I say it should be unacceptable, unacceptable for everyone to go into the doctor's office and the doctor says, Jonathan, if you just would have followed my instructions, you wouldn't be in this situation. If something happens to you that's out of your control, not that you'd be happy about it, so be it. But if things happen to you that you can control right now, like there are millions of people that have prediabetes, don't know they have it right now. There are people that have high blood pressure, have no idea that they have it right now. There's so many things physically that don't show symptoms that you could have right now. That should be unacceptable. Go to your doctor. One of the things I tell people all the time is they like hearing this, but you don't know how truly healthy you are until you know what's going on inside your body. So
Mhm.
understand what's going on inside your body so you get a health checkup. People don't want to do that because they don't want to hear the results,
Or they're
but
afraid, yeah.
they're afraid, and listen, waiting for results is very, very, I mean, it's one of the highest anxiety moments I think people will have in their lifetime. But you've got to know what's going on inside of your body. So that has to be unacceptable to be able to control certain things about your health and you don't do it. And that was a lesson that I taught myself. And so that's something I would say to myself in the mirror all the time. This has got to be unacceptable.
Mm.
And
And
after a while it was.
I have no doubt that what we're saying now is very hard for some people to hear because it is, but it's the truth and people need to hear the truth. I have a saying that I don't wrap people in cotton wool because I don't think it does people any favors.
It
You
doesn't.
need to hear the truth whether or not you like it because at the end of the day, it's for your own good. If
It
you
is.
want to live this beautiful life that God has gifted each of us to the best of your ability, you need to hear the truth. So then you can come up with a solid plan, realistic, like we said, and then move forward and take action with it. There's
Yeah, because
another
the life you live after you hear the truth will be a life that you'll love. So
Yeah, there's another line, and I was looking for that, and I just want to read it because I love this too. I'm sure you will too. And it goes, health brings a freedom that many people don't realize until they no longer have it. And that
uh,
goes back to what we're saying about like wearing the clothes and standing up straight and feeling confident and again feeling sexy with your partner. That's a freedom you cannot buy. That's
you
like,
can.
this is the stuff that yeah, we know it's not always going to be easy. We're definitely not saying that. There will be struggle, there will be sacrifices, but when you get this sense of freedom and happiness and life back in your days, you're like, man, that was priceless. I'm so glad I did that.
Oh, yeah. I'm at a loss for word. Yes, yes. I mean, I can't 100% agree more. And I would add to that just the freedom of knowing that you're healthy, that you feel good, that you're taking care of yourself, and that you're going to be there for your family. I don't even know the word to say, but it is such a wonderful feeling. It's a fantastic feeling. And if you do the work now, if you do the work now, you start with the small wins and the small goals and start with a realistic plan. Give yourself plenty of time and get healthy as you're going. You will get there. You will absolutely, positively, 100% get there. There's nothing stopping you.
I would add to that two things. First is that's that other line. So I have loads of lines today.
That's a beautiful line. I am
I'll
going to
send
rewatch this
it to
myself.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
I think it was David Goggins who said, choose your hard now so you can choose your easy later. You put in the
That's
hard
right.
work now so you can take it easier later. And we both did that. We did the hard work and we're enjoying the fruits of our labor now. But back to the freedom, there's also that freedom of the self-trust. Now you trust yourself. Now you go into a party or you go into a restaurant or a coffee shop and you feel free because you're like, I trust myself that I can deal with this situation right now. I can make the right choices. And even if I have a little slip up, I know how to get myself back on track and undo any damage But that's trust as well. So you're not going to events. You're not going out for family dinner stressing, oh my God, what can I have? What should I have? There's going to be this. It's going to contribute to my issues. Like, there's so many levels to this.
There are. I'm laughing because that was me. It's like, okay, we're gonna go to this birthday party. There's gonna be pizza. I love pizza. How am I not gonna overeat? And this type of, so you're right. But once you get to a certain point in your life, you do trust yourself. I mean, it's not that you need to have it, it's because you want to have it, and you're not worried about the mental consequences for having a bad day. And so
Hmm.
once you get to that point, that's who you are. It's a beautiful thing.
It just
But
takes
you're
a
right.
lot.
Put in the hard work now. And really, if you plan it right, it's hard work, but you can have fun while you're getting there. I mean, you can have fun and enjoy the process. And so I teach people how they can have fun while they're starting from point A, the very beginning point, on their journey.
So you mentioned that already. We might as well go into it. What are some ways you recommend your people can have fun on their journey?
I'll tell you a quick story. My wife and her partner started a dyslexia tutoring business, and my daughter has dyslexia. I had dyslexia, and when these students come in, it's a 2-year program where they go through and they teach them how to read and comprehension. And so when they come in, these kids are so I wouldn't say depressed, but they're frustrated. They're down on themselves because we're not very nice to people who can't read very well. And so you can see the self-doubt and how the self-esteem problems that they have. And so mind you, Shemaine, this is a 2-year program. After about a month in, they come in and they're smiling, they're looking forward to it, they're enjoying it. And the reason why is because they see the progress. They see where they were and they know they have a ways to go, but they've seen the progress. So they're enjoying it because they're not measuring their progress by, hey, I got to read a novel. They're measuring their progress from where they were to where they are now. And so not looking at 2 years down the road. And so on your lifestyle behavior change journey, if you start where you are now, and let's say you eat 4 bad meals a day or you eat horrible the whole day, well, now 3 days in a row, you had half the day where you had a good day. If you see where that is, where that progress is, or every time you came home, you sat on the couch, well, now I'm going to walk for 10 minutes. No, you still look the same when you look in the mirror, but the progress that you've made is fantastic. So if you can focus on that, progress is a powerful, powerful motivator and confidence booster as long as you're looking at the right place. And that's why I don't ever mention anyone to look at the scales, because the scale is not always a good measure of your progress. And so that's how people start to have fun because they start to see I'm capable. I'm seeing progress. I'm seeing my life is changing. And they want more and more and they're building the momentum. So that's how people generally will have fun on their journeys.
I have another line, I have another quote that I use a lot. You can have this too. And this one's great. It basically is success begets success. The more
Yes,
little wins you have, the more success you have, that encourages you to go after more success. And it snowballs and you
100%.
go and go and go and go. And people don't recognize that. Recognize the small wins. And before you know it, you'll have your big win.
That is That is what, yes, that is 100% true. The problem is, and I don't know if you've seen this quote. I know I'm not gonna say this correctly, but it's a quote that talks about a stone cutter that's trying to cut the stone, cut the stone, cut the stone, and he's chipping away, and on the thousandth chip, the stone breaks in half.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
realize that it wasn't that thousand hit that did it; it was all the little
All
hits
the,
that did it before.
yeah.
So, but if you start to enjoy all those little hits and you start to, then you no longer worry about, oh my God, I'm 20 pounds away or I'm this far away. You just start to say, man, this is fun. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying the progress that I'm making. To your point, all these small wins start to add up. You just have to be able to appreciate that.
Hmm.
One, be able to see it. Two, be able to appreciate it and celebrate it.
Hmm. How important then is community to this, having a community? Because just while you were describing the stone cutter, I'm thinking like we chip away at it. Sometimes it's really hard to do by ourselves, and it's a lot easier and more fun when you have other people doing it, not only because they're supporting you, but you're supporting them. And humans,
Right.
we feel good when we help other people.
We do. I say not, this is not for everybody, obviously, but I think it's impossible to do it by yourself. I mean,
I
I
would
think
agree.
especially,
Yeah.
I think you need support, people around you picking you up, and it could just be a phone call. Hey, how you doing today? Is everything okay? Or just a pick me up, or whatever it is that you need in that moment. And it may not be talking about health. It could just be, hey, I had a hard day at work. I'm worried about my job and this, that, and this, and this, and they, hey, and someone, your best friend, just calls you and says, give you a pick you up and words of support, of encouragement. And so I think community and support is absolutely essential to achieving change.
Mhm.
Absolutely essential
And
with the right people, of course.
it can also be a bonus if you have a competitive nature. Like, I don't want that bitch to win.
It all helps. Now, where community doesn't help is if, and this is can be unfortunate if you're in the wrong environment and the wrong people are feeding you to keep you where you're at. And
Mm.
those can be that can be a very tough environment to break out of. And hopefully, people can find a way to get out of those environments. But if you can surround yourself with people that are picking you up, whether it's, hey, weight loss competition, or we're going to walk together, or we're going to pick each other up when we've had a bad day, whatever it is, community is essential. There's no
So
question.
important. So here's my next hard question as we start to wrap up is maybe you're in the wrong community and they're just holding you back. Okay, m move on. What if, though, one of your, shall we say, best friends or someone really close to you is what we would call in Ireland a negative Nancy? That she's just nothing but negative. There's like a black cloud over her head. Everything's doom and gloom. She's everything out of her mouth is negative. There's no light. And not that she's holding you back saying you can't do it. She's very supportive to you and she wants you to succeed, but everything out of her mouth is negative. So you find that spending time with her just bloody drains you. And you're like, I can't deal with this. I need to step away from this. I need to focus on myself.
I just recently had a client who was in that similar situation, and we talked about it. And really, we talked about two things. One, can you step away from that person, which is not always possible? That person may be someone in your life that you don't want to step away from. Two, can you have a conversation with that person and say, look, your negativity is bringing me down. Can you help that person? Not that's your job, but to help that person not to be so negative, or at least not be negative around you. Can you communicate to say, how are those conversations affecting you and your health and your mental health? And so, really, we focus on those two things. You either got to remove yourself from that environment, which is not always easy to do. It's easier said than done, or you have to change that environment, or limit yourself to that environment, or change it altogether. I mean,
Hmm.
change it meaning that you help that person where they're not that way around you. Because if you're going to stay in that environment, you've got to change the person. If you can't change the person, you're going to have to change your environment. I mean, there really is no easy answer to that. No sugarcoating that.
Hmm.
I mean, it gets worse when it's a spouse or someone you live with, where you can't just change your
Yeah,
environment.
that's
Maybe they're the
harder.
breadwinner, or maybe you've got their financial support, that type of thing. That's a lot harder to say, well, I'm just going to walk away, because you can't. And so in that situation, you've got to find ways to change your environment within your environment. Very hard question to answer. It's so different for different people. But my first answer is, if you can change your environment and not have that person around you, if that's even possible, then that's what I would do, because negative people will bring you down. You may not even realize it. You
They
may not even realize it,
drain
but
you.
negative
You're
people
like,
will always, yes, they will
you're like,
always bring you down.
oh my God, I can't go near her again. She just exhausts
That's right.
me, that kind of thing. And then you feel guilty, but and I agree. You talk to the person, you try to help. It's that
Right.
saying of you can bring a water to the or a horse to the
Yeah.
well, but you can't make it drink. If they don't want to change, you
Okay.
unfortunately are going to have to step away or
That's
limit
right.
your interactions or something because it will affect your mental health, which in turn affects your mindset. And we can't help everyone. That's just the
You
truth.
can.
We
You
and
can.
us as t teachers and coaches, we cannot help everyone, and you have to accept that some people, dare I say, are a bit too gone in the mental health aspect of things, and it's understandable. People have a lot of damage and trauma in their lives. But when it starts to, it's, that rotten apple thing. I've had people in my groups and I tried to keep them very easy going. And you put in one bad apple or rotten apple and it starts to toxify the rest of the
It
group. It
does.
starts to drag everyone down. If all of their comments are negative and
It
everyone
does.
else is trying to stay hopeful and positive and look on the bright side of life, and then you have this one person that keeps saying negative. It's just so hard. It just drags
It,
everyone
it,
down.
it sucks the energy out of you. I mean, it really does. And, I think it becomes easier, not easy. Once you make your health the number one priority in your life,
Hmm.
then it's much easier to say to a person, look, you've either got to change or we've got to take a break, or I can't have you as a friend, whatever the case may be, because they're not going to support your habits, your behavior, your why in order to support being your health is the number one priority in your life. So it's hard because sometimes it can be lifelong friends that
Yeah.
they've become negative in their lives. It can make it hard, but you do have to separate yourself from that situation. It's
Mhm.
easier said than done, that's for sure.
It is. Um, so we're at the start of a new year now. Got people
Yes.
with big dreams, big
Absolutely.
goals for this
Yeah.
new year. I think it's going to be a great year, although I say that about every year. I try to, over the years, I'm like, regardless of what happens, there is going to be some good parts. We can't
That's right.
deny that. Not every day is going to be shit. There is going to be some goodness somewhere.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
what words of wisdom would we leave people with now starting a new journey in this year? Mine would be one day at a time. Just keep showing up every day and it'll add up. What have
I
you
will
got?
take that. I would take that one, but I also would add be kind to yourself. Forgive yourself and be kind to yourself. Show yourself some self-compassion. Don't be even you're not going to one make one big transformational step. You're going to have setbacks and adversity. That's just a part of life. And be kind to yourself. Be patient and show yourself some self-compassion and self-love. And I think that will benefit you uh, in the long run, in the short
Okay.
run, in the long run.
I'm going to do another one, then you do another one, and we'll wrap it
Okay.
up. So,
All right.
my other one would be that we're not saying it's easy. There are going to be hard days. There will be very easy days too, but we are saying you have to take responsibility for not only your health and your body, but also what you want for yourself and the quality of life you want to have.
That's a great one. That's a great one. Uh, and I'll add to it one, I'll say for every negative thought that you have about yourself right now, today, write down a positive counter thought. And
Mhm.
then every time the negative thought comes in, look at your positive thoughts. Carry your positive thoughts around you. Every time you do something negative, you have to, the rule is you have to have something positive.
Yeah. It's like that saying is light will always outwin darkness, isn't it?
Light will always win dark. I don't know if it's, but I like it.
Something like that.
I
I'm
like
going to
it.
write a book of just
Light.
quotes and one-liners because I just have loads of them.
Well, if you walk in it's dark, you want light, right? Most of the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Not all the time, most of the time.
Okay, Jonathan, where can people find you for more mindset support and ideas?
They can go to my website, youcanbeatobesity.com. And on that website, I have my blogs there, and I have an online course coming out, and I have all kinds of material stuff that they can read, and I share my obesity pictures up there as well because I want people to come to that website, and I want the first thing that I want them, and I also share some of my progress. But I want people to come to that website and realize he gets it, he understands, because that's the first thing you see when you come to my website. So they can come to youcanbeatobesity.com, and it's easy to find me.
Hmm. And you're on LinkedIn as well.
Yes, I am on LinkedIn as well. Yes, they can
And
message me on LinkedIn.
just back to what you said there about sharing the pictures, and I've shared pictures, is I've always said it's one thing, not to downplay the efficacy of other teachers and their abilities, but I've always said that unless your teacher has been there and done the journey themselves and felt the feelings we spoke about at the start of this conversation, they can never fully relate to you.
You
Whereas
cannot.
if you come along with this beautiful, slim girl, perfect body, and she wants to help you, and maybe she can, but she's never going to fully relate to you. She's never going to be
Right.
able to say, maybe not, that she was the fat girl crying in her bedroom, eating when nobody could see her, or pulling at her fat or her loose skin or her stretch marks or anything. It's a different scenario, and therefore gives that person different teaching abilities.
I 100% agree, and that's why I have those up there. I have them for a few years to show people how long the journey is. Because you're right, I want someone to go to my website and say he gets it because he's lived it. And my wife, funny story, she took a picture of me and she took all the pictures. She had a lot of before pictures, not too many after, but she had a before picture, and she'd say the camera adds like 10 pounds, John. I said, yeah, but it doesn't add 70. And so I put him up there, but I want people to come there and say, he gets it, he understands, he relates. And because I was that person as a guy, he's mentioned about a girl, as a guy crying and saying, why can't I get this right? So, yeah,
Mhm. Yeah. Well, thank you for this fabulous conversation, John, and thank you for your time. And I hope you have the most wonderful new year. It is going to be a good year.
I wish the same for you, and thank you so much for having me as a guest. I really enjoyed the time with you, and I wish you all the best in 26.
Absolutely my pleasure. We'll chat soon.